So this is some craft wire that I found on Amazon. It's 1mm by 5mm. And it's a flat aluminum. I think they use this for people who make masks or something for the nose piece, but this is what I'm making my parts out of. Drilled the hole, so I'm going to lap it to deburr it. Real light, smooth. Not really trying to remove any more material than just the burrs on the edges. You can feel it when you do it. It's like a 600 grit sharpening stone for knives. They got them from, God, like 200 grit all the way up to, I think, 5,000. Very handy. Good thing to get. They're cheap. So to square this up, these holes are drilled in the center on all four. So the thickness on either side of this should make it made up perfectly. So to get it squared up in my vise, I basically just, here, went by the height of that, and this is my side I'm using to make square and flat. And when I dropped it in to where this is flush, and then once I got it to where I want it, come on, why is this stuff so small, guys? Driving me nuts. I push it out, and I'm looking at the distance between the bottom and all that, making sure it's parallel with the face of this. Then I'm using a machining block that I'm just kind of guiding along this jaw over here, which will kind of square it up. I'll bring it right up to the bottom of that, square it up to that, and that'll give me a check to see that line space there and across the top right there is all good to go. So I'm good to start filing the inside of this. So the first thing I do to make sure my depth of where I'm filing on this, on that line right there, is perfectly straight, I'm going to take one of these photo etch saw blades. I think it's Scale Motorsport. It has the really nice ones. These ones are Tamiya, and verdict is still out, but it's working pretty good. So I hold it flush against the face of this, and I am just gonna barely cut. It'll grab, it'll start digging in. So you gotta be just real cool about it. There's a feel to it, but you know, once you do it a few times, you definitely get a feel for it. And every piece of metal is different. You kind of get a feel for that, how it's going to work, how it's going to cut, how the stupid stuff's going to bend, and then how the dust is going to infect your brain, and then how it's going to control the voices in your head. As long as they tell you not to burn things, like we'll be doing okay, guys. But I only want to go down halfway. And I made a little mark that should get me pretty darn close to where my halfway is gonna be. Yeah. So then I'm gonna take my file, and I'm gonna take the flat face of it, and I'm gonna write it along the top of my vise here. And then I'm gonna guide it by watching this line here. And if I need more eyeball assistance or whatever, then what I will do is set up my machinist block back here, kind of like that. That'll give me an extra little reference right there, or I could even write on it, but this edge here is straight. Here it tapers down. It's a, you know, jeweler's file, so they do that for various reasons. And I am just gonna eyeball it. I know it's flat on the surface. I know the line that I'm going with is straight, so it's my job to kind of keep it even as I file out this notch. And I am going to remove just a tiny bit of metal every time. I'm not going to fight with it. I'm tired of fighting with things. Get to a certain point in life and you're like, you know what? I'm going to do this the easiest way possible. Do everything ahead of time so when I'm actually doing it, I'm not fighting with it. I wish it worked that way with relationships. Kind of doesn't. You know what does work with relationships? Lubricant. That works. So when I've removed most of the material, I'm going to measure it. I want to try to get to about 20 thousandths, maybe just a hair tick inside. Oh, I said hair, a tick. Yes. So I am measuring both sides of it, just on the very edge to make sure I'm saying it's staying square. And I'm off by 24.0. Try that again, man. Tell me I'm doing that. 24. Yeah. Doing okay today, guys. Most days don't work like this. So that's how I'm going about this. So the whole reason why I'm doing this is to kind of push myself. I got the idea and see if I could do it. But it's going to be a hinge. And right now it fits together pretty good. I mean, it's good enough. It's pretty good. So you can see right there the notch on both sides. It should make it stable enough. Now if I move my hand, it should make it stable enough to keep it from going wonky one way or the other when I go to tilt the front end. It's been a real bear to kind of figure out how I wanted to do it, how I wanted it to look, and just the mechanism itself. This is driving me insane. So the reason why I filed it the way I did too is you'll notice the surface is flat and square, and it squares off there, and it's the opposite on this one. So when I fit these together, and when it's fit tight together, it'll be sitting in the car like that, and then as it lifts, it's going to push it up. Oh, let me get that under there. It'll push it up, but then it's not going to extend beyond a certain point. Now, it's not perfectly straight, but it's still not going to extend beyond about there, which is pretty close. It's close enough. I do want a little give and a little play. I'm not exactly sure how it's even going to work. Oops, don't want to do that stuff, man. Come on, Curtis. Hang on to your tools, dude. So when I get it in the car and I get everything put together and it doesn't work, then I'm going to do it all over again. The approach I take to round the corners on a bracket that I'm fabricating is I'll run a needle through the hole, and I'm gonna want to make this bracket round on this one side. I still want this flat side for the purpose that I have it for with this tilt front end. And then I just clamp it in with it being flat on the surface here. And the cool thing about doing it this way is I can take my file, and not that file, but this file, and I can, again, ride the face of the vise without, gouging it. These lines that are on here, they're not actually gouges. This is really smooth. But I can hold it, and then I can just keep it at a 90-degree angle and knock the edges off. And then when I start feeling the head of the pin when I'm filing, then I know it's all the further it's going to go, and it's going to be round. So that's my little trick on rounding out my brackets.